right, so for video number 3, I want to talk about some of this notation that we're going to have to get really comfortable with. It's on the next test, and it's also on test number 2. So I'm on the packet that says 1.2, and I'm on the front of the second page. And we're going to come back and do this in the last video. But I want to start getting to this because this is pretty important stuff. So what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be using some highlighters. I don't know if you want to go get some highlighters or some markers, and this packet of Venn diagrams that I gave you, because we're going to practice with this video today on some of this notation. So the first notation we have to get comfy with is what's called the intersection of sets. So I'm going to read this. This is what is called set builder notation. I'm going to read to you what all these pieces mean. So this says B intersect S is all of the X values. This is read such that X is a member of B, and at the exact same time, X is a member of S. All right? So let's go ahead on this Venn diagram and graph what D intersect C looks like. So this has to be the area on this Venn diagram where we've got members not only in D, but also in C at the exact same time. That's what and means, at the exact same time. And this forms what's called I call them these football shapes. So the intersection are where two or more sets intersect, or where they have elements in common. Okay? So let's turn to a set of Venn diagrams, and we're going to look at what C intersect O would look like, and then a pretty common one is D intersect C intersect O. All right? So C intersect O means that you want the elements that have in common with not only C, but also O at the exact same time. So C intersect O is this nice football shape. And if you are any member of this shape, you have to be not only in C, but also O. You might also be in D, but that doesn't matter. We're just curious. The only characteristic that this pink area has in common, every element in common has the characteristic that they're in C and in O at the exact same time. All right, let's do D intersect E, C intersect O. So that means you're in D and in C and in O all at the same time. So that's what this shape would be. D intersect C intersect O means not only are you in D, but you are also in C and you're also in O. Okay, so let's do our next shape. So that was intersection. The next shape is what's called a union. All right, so let's read what union would be. So this U sign means all of the elements in B and or also in S. All right, I'm going to pause for 1 second. My dog is chewing up something. I got to get my daughter to get it. So anyway, all right, so these are the elements B union S such that the elements, or that such that, let me write that down. That line is read such that. I'm making a video, but Lucy is chewing something. Can you please get it? Thank you. And there's probably stuff over here as well on her bed. All right, so these are all the X's such that X is an element of B and or also an element of S. So when you see this sign means join everything together. Okay? Join it all together. So let's look at what D union C would be. So that means it's everything that's not only in D, but it could also be something in C or both. So that means we're going to add it all together. So D union C says join everything together. You want everything in D, you want everything in C, and you want everything that's in both D and C. Okay, that's what's called the union. The union means you want to add everything together. Okay? Union means add everything together. So, let's look at some examples. So we could have C union O to complement that one, or D union C union O. So C union O would mean all of C and all of O, everything together. So when they see this union, you're always going to say it's all of C and or all of O. Okay, that's what the union symbol means. And if this says D union C union O, that means you want all of D and or all of O and or all of C. So that's what this set notation will look like. If we've got D union C union O, you just want to add everything together. Everything gets joined. Okay? So the last symbol that we have to get down is this bar. And that is what is called the complement. Okay? So let's look at what this means. So S bar are all the x's such that x does not belong to S. So are they're all x's such that x is not in S. So it's everything but that. So if I say let's draw C bar, we want to shade in everything that doesn't belong to C. You want everything but C. That's what's called the complement. You want to shade in everything. You want to include everything except for C. You want all the members that aren't in C. All right? So let's draw D bar. And then we'll throw a twist on it. Let's draw, how about we draw D union C bar. And this is where it gets a little crazy. Okay, so D bar or D complement means I'm going to circle that D, but instead of shading inside, I want to shade everything outside. And you go all the way to the ends of those boxes. I mean, you could shade the whole thing in. I'm just going to kind of sunray it, if you will. I think that gives you enough of an idea, right? I mean, if you wanted to shade it in, you have the whole thing. This is what D bar would look like. It's everything except for D. Okay, so D union C. All right, union means add everything together. right? Okay, so if I'm looking at D union C, right here, I'm going to take everything in D union C. However, when it says D union C bar, I don't want to shade inside. This is where I want to shade outside. The bar means everything except those sets. So this is what D union C bar looks like. All right. So I'm going to shade in a couple, and I want to see if you can give me, well, let's see, no, I'm going to give you a couple, and that when you shade them in. How about that? And then we'll go the other direction, okay? Where I shade some in, and then you tell me what they look like. So let's start off. Okay, you ready? It's a little blurry. It's having trouble focusing. Let's see if I can get that to focus. I don't know, maybe once I start drawing. All right, so I would like you to draw the difference of D. Let's see if I can focus you. Ah, there it goes. All right, D union, how about we go D intersect O to start, and then we'll do D union O. And then we're going to go, how about D intersect O bar? Okay, so pause the video and then see how you do drawing those. So pause the video, take your time, look at the examples that we did, and then try shading those in, okay? All right, let's see how you did. So D intersect O, intersect means they have to be in both at the same time. Okay, they have to be in both at the same time. So only these pieces belong not only in D, but also O. They could belong to C, but the only characteristic that everyone has in common here is they belong to not only D, but also O. D union O, right? Union means you join everything together. So I want everything in D and or everything in O. Okay? So D intersect O bar. Well, D intersect O is this shape right here, right? But instead of drawing in that little football shape, we want everything outside it. So this is what D intersect O bar looks like. Right? It has this nice football shape. So the only part that's not going to be shaded in is that little football shape. So all the elements in here are in D intersect O bar. Okay. All right. How about we look at some other shapes now? Because there's other variations. For example, we could do the top of a football. Or we could do like this moon shape. Right? So how do we get these kinds of shapes? Okay. I'm going to color this in, and then you're going to see how we get that shape. And I'm going to color this in, and you're going to see how we get this shape. So I'm hoping you're looking at this shape and going, oh, that's the top of an intersection. So the whole football, the whole intersection would be D intersect C, right? So I'm going to start with D intersect C. That would be this whole football shape, right? But you see, from this football, I want to take away O. When you take away something, you always intersect it with the complement of what you want to take away. Okay? I'm going to write that down here. To take away, excuse me, away a set on a Venn diagram you need to intersect with the complement of the set you want to take away. Okay, so to take away a set on a Venn diagram, like you're going to start with something and you want to take away something. The part that you want to take away, you're going to intersect. The piece that you want to take away, symbolically, you're just intersecting with the complement of what you want to take away. Now let's see why that works. All right. So if I said, hey, everyone, draw this, and you didn't know that this part was takeaway, you would start off, you ready? You would start off with D intersect C. Isn't that what D intersect C would be? That's what this piece would be right here. There's D intersect C. And then this piece says, oh, just draw the O complement. Isn't that what that means? O bar means O complement. All right. So now, everything that's outside of O, I'm going to go this way so you can see it. Remember, intersection means they have to belong to both sets. So do you see the only place where these guys mismatch is right here. This means they have to be in common to both. The only place where these are in common to both is the top of that football. Do you see it? You've got the up and down here. Maybe if I made them in a different color. So you started off with the orange football, right? Here's the orange football. This is what we started with. And then O bar looks like this. Do you see the only place where those are in common is that orange football, the top of it? Right here. It's the only piece that those have in common. Here, so let's try another one. You ready? We'll get back to that moon shape. So let's try another one. So let's try this piece, this football shape. I'm just going to do the tops of the footballs now. Got the three tops of the footballs. So write down the intersection, the part that you would start with, right? I'm hoping you see that you would start with a football and that you would take away D. Do you see? You want to get rid of D out of that to have what's in the yellow. If you started with the football and you took away D, you'd have that yellow piece right there. So write down the intersection. What is the intersection would be? What is this football? What are the two shapes that we're intersecting? What are the two sets to get that football? Do you see that it's C intersect O? Right? That's this football. And then we want to take away, this is D. Do you see? We want to take this piece away. And that's in D. So to take D away, we intersect with the complement of D. That's how you take away D. Take away D. All right, how about this one? So here's the top of a football. All right, ask yourself, hopefully you'll see I started with a football and then I took away C. So what two sets make up that football? Do you see the two sets would be D intersect O? So that's what you started with. Like that's what this football is. And then you want to take away, do you see? You want to take away C. Take away C out of that football. To just be left with this piece right here. So to take away C, you intersect it with C complement. If you would take away C, this is what you do. You intersect with a complement to C. This is how you take away C. Oh, all right, here, let's try the moon shape. We'll get them. We're going to practice this on Monday, but I'm going into Monday thinking you've already watched this video. So I'm just going to give you a couple to ram through, and then these are on your oh wow. All right, so hopefully you see that we started with C, right? Imagine this is what you started with, this big circle C, and then look to see what set you took away. What's the big set you took away? Do you see that you took away D? So to take away this part, to take away D, you intersect it with D complement. You start off with the big circle and then you took away D, and that's what gives you that moon shape. All right, let's try another one. You ready? Let's try another moon shape. Let's try this moon shape right here. Let's try this moon. Okay, ask yourself, okay, what did I start with and what did I take away? Hopefully you can see that's just about all of O, where C is gone. So you've got O, that's what you started with, and then you're taking away C. So to take away C, you intersect with the complement. Yeah, let's try one more. Let's try another moon with D. Okay. Let's try another moon, but with D. Okay, how about this one? You ready? And then we'll do one more. Try that one. Try this. Okay. And then I'm going to shade in some, and I'd like you to look at those. So hopefully you said, okay, Kathleen, I started with D, and I took away C. So take away C, complement. All right, let me give you one. I made you a shade in. You ready? I don't think we've done this one. How about, I'm going to shade in a couple, and I want you to stop the video and see what you can make of it. This isn't a takeaway. This is just a complement one. And then I'm going to give you a takeaway. It's a tricky one. Not going to lie. It's a little tricky. Okay, how about, oh, this is a weird one. It's not a moon, it's something different. It's only C. I want only C. And C only. Then we'll do another one where, how about we do 2 footballs? Okay. So how do we do 2 footballs joined together? All right, so pause it. See what you can make of them. Give them a pause. See what you can make of them. And then we'll turn it back on and I'll give you some answers to these. Okay, hopefully you paused. I mean it, like pause and like chew on it a little bit before you look at the answers. So I'm hoping you see, well, what we didn't shade in is all the sets joined together. So joined together is union. So in the white, and you can go in any order. You could do D union C union O or O union C union D. It doesn't matter. Order doesn't matter. Right? So that's what's in the white. So to get to the blue, I want to complement it because that's everything but what's in the white. Now this one, I'm hoping you see, you started with C. And then look at it. You want to take away all of D and all of O. So I want to take away something. So take away means intersect with a complement, right? So if you said, I want to get rid of D union O, or all of D and all of O, that's where you union those together, right? C intersect D union O. I want to take away D union O. Now, how about this one? I'm hoping you see you've got these two football shapes, right? There's a football and there's a football. Okay, well, if you just want to join together, remember that means union. So I've got D intersect C. That's this football, and I want to join it together with this football, D intersect O. Right, that's how you can join things together. If you have different pieces, you just remember this union means add it. Add it. All right, so we will practice some more of those when we come in on Monday night. We will finish everything we need for the first test on Monday. So that means I'll give you a review on Monday, and then the following Monday we'll go over the review and then take the test. Okay? So bring these in. I'll give you some fresh Venn diagrams, and we will play with a whole bunch more, okay? We're not done with this. We'll dedicate most of that evening to Venn diagrams, but I do need you to, try to chew on this enough so when we come in, this should all just be just a refresher. All right, one video to go.